Jungle.
Hey guys, welcome back to my podcast. I'm really excited about today's topic. We are talking about the global impact of Michael Jackson's Thriller. Let me repeat that again. The global impact of Michael Jackson's Thriller. Now, obviously, I'm pretty sure everybody in the world has heard Thriller, whether it be the album, the song, or seen the music video, or they've at least heard about it. I mean, come on. If you haven't heard it, you've been living under a rock. Now, there might be some people out there who have never heard about it. And if you haven't and you're listening to me, you are going to get the history behind Thriller, the video, and I'll also kind of dive into a little bit about the song and the album as well. But if you've been following my podcast and you've been listening to me, you'll know that I made an announcement last week that for the month of October, I plan on pretty much doing all horror related themed content. And so this is kind of the beginning of that. I did do it a little bit last week. I was ending off my Stranger Things discussion, and then I kind of talked a little bit about different movies that pretty much traumatized us or really horrified us as kids or just growing up. And I asked people on social media and they gave me their answers. So that was a fun little discussion there. But now we're really getting to the horror stuff because we're talking about Thriller Night. Now, if you know me, anybody that knows me knows that I absolutely love Michael Jackson. Favorite artist that ever lived, literally number one for me. I don't think anybody has topped him. And I know that's controversial to say and some will debate it or whatever, but to me, best artist that ever lived. Nobody has ever surpassed him, and I really don't see anybody surpassing him. So for me, obviously, talking about his work is really exciting. I'm just super passionate about his career and everything. It might sound weird, but I'm just a fanatic, and it's really not weird if you really look at it because there's people that have been crazy about him way before I was even born. So my crush on him or my admiration, my obsession, whatever you want to call it, started when I was really young. And it's just grew really from the time that he passed away and kind of learning a little bit more about him as a person and his artistry and just learning about how he came from the Jackson 5 and how he transitioned into a solo artist, and pretty much his whole story is really magnificent. If you haven't really looked into it, I highly recommend that you do because there's a lot that went on in his life. Even if you just focus on his career, it's just really amazing everything that he got to do. So obviously Thriller being probably, or not even probably, the most impactful thing that he did, and I think that the general audience, for the most part, will know a lot about Thriller. Now, maybe his other albums people don't know about as much or other things that he did, but I feel like Thriller is one of those that's everybody's oh yeah, Thriller. I know Thriller. I listened to the album. I've seen the video. And so I kind of thought this would be a cool topic to discuss because it had such an impact in music and in pop culture, but also because we hear it now every single Halloween. I don't think you can ever go to a Halloween party or any type of festival or Halloween event and then not play Thriller. That would just be a crime. How could you not play Thriller? It's just really become this Halloween anthem. And it's so funny because I'm pretty sure that Michael did not intend to make it that when he released it. I don't think they really thought that was going to happen. I mean, they probably didn't necessarily believe it was going to blow up the way it did, but I don't think he went into it going, oh yeah, this is going to be for Halloween and everything. And it's just become that. It's really just the fans, I think, and people just made it really one of the top, if not the number one theme for Halloween. And honestly, even now, if you go and you look up on streams, the streams always go up every year in October. Every year for Halloween, people are listening to Thriller. And it's just really cool, how it's became its own thing. But I really wanted to focus more so on the video because I don't know about y'all, but it definitely scared me as a child. And I'm sure that it wasn't necessarily made to be I don't think he necessarily went into it being oh, I just really want to terrify people, but it ended up being that, to be honest. I think he just wanted to go into it making it fun, which it is fun. I definitely love it. I've seen it a million times, and it's something that I'll go back and watch it, and it just feels very nostalgic to me, but it is also still kind of creepy. I feel the great thing about it is that although it came out so long ago, it still holds up. It still holds up to today, and I see that, going into the future. I think when future generations watch it too, they'll be like, whoa, like what the heck, this was made that long ago. Like it's just such quality work. Like outside of being a stan of Michael's, whether you're a big fan of him or not, you just have to acknowledge the quality of work that went into it. And not just on Michael's part, but really everybody that was a part of the project. And I definitely want to kind of get into that, kind of shine a light on some of the people that worked behind the scenes and how they made it into what we know it as now. Um, I don't want to talk too long in the intro. I kind of want to get into it because I have a lot to cover. But what was really cool was that I planned on talking about this sometime last week. And then today, y'all, today I get on Twitter and I see Thriller is trending. And I'm like, why is Thriller trending? Now, I'm thinking, maybe it's some type of anniversary thing and fans are talking about it. I don't know. Let me check and see. So I click on it. And come to find out, apparently, or allegedly, I'll say, because I don't know if this has been 100% confirmed, but allegedly there is a Thriller documentary in the works, which sounds really, really promising. I think that would be a really cool thing to see. And this documentary is supposed to show a lot of, behind the scenes footage, things that we've never seen before, all about the making of Thriller, the album, the song, and the video, I believe. And it is said to be directed by music journalist Nelson George. Now, when I saw that name, I was like, that's a pretty familiar name to me. Like, I feel like I've heard that or seen that somewhere. And then somebody had showed like, oh, there's a clip of when he interviewed Michael back in the 80s. So he definitely has a connection to Michael. It seems like maybe he is personally probably a big fan of his music. And I'm sure if he met him, then that's probably why he's a good contender to be a director for this. So apparently they're coming out with a documentary, and I think it's in collaboration with the Michael Jackson estate as well as Sony Music Entertainment. So if they're all a part of it, then it seems like it'll be pretty legit. Again, I don't know if this is 100% confirmed. This was released on TV News Network. So I never heard of that network or anything. I just saw the article on Twitter and I clicked on it, read through it. It's still on Twitter if you want to check it out for yourself. And you can also, I'm pretty sure, look it up on Google and it'll pop up. But yeah, it sounds interesting from what I've read. It seems pretty legit. And I believe the whole purpose of it is to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the album. So I'm assuming that it'll come out next year because I think next year marks 40th anniversary since Thriller came out. That is insane. I can't believe it's been 40 years. Like, I can't believe it, but I can't at the same time. And so, yeah. And then this will be the third of, as far as music documentaries about a specific album or era for him. So if you guys didn't know, there's a couple other documentaries that came out some years ago. There was one called Bad 25 that was all about the Bad album, the whole era and everything about the tour and everything. It's really, really good footage if you haven't seen it. And then there was another documentary that came out about Michael's journey from Motown to a solo artist. And it's all about Off the Wall and, that first solo album that he did, because that blew up as well. Obviously not as big as Thriller, but it did blow up for him. And so that's really good as well. I believe Spike Lee directed it. I could be wrong, but I feel like he has something to do with that. But both are really good documentaries. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'm not really sure if it's on any type of streaming platforms. It might be on like Amazon or something. You'd have to look it up. It might be on Apple TV, something like that. It might be something that you have to buy, but I would say it's worth it. It's pretty good. I know they showed it on TV. So maybe check your guide and see if you can find it. But yeah, it seems like a good documentary. And the reason why I keep saying like it seems like it's promising and that it's good is because, to be honest, as a hardcore Michael fan, I've seen some of the stuff that the estate and other people have released with Michael's name on it since his passing in 2009. And I feel like a lot of what's come out is really it just didn't seem genuine. It didn't seem authentic. A lot of it that came out was just stuff to make money, if I'm being completely honest. At least that's what it looked like from the fan side. And I know I'm not the only one that's thought that, because I see a lot of the opinions and the things that people say on social media. And so it's been disappointing to see like them try to roll out things. And it's like, it's really not catering to the fans. There's really no purpose to it other than to make money. And I really wish that they would cater to fans that have been there for a really long time and to newer fans. You know, if you're trying to introduce him to a new generation, I feel like there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And it seemed like they were doing pretty good back in maybe like, what was that, like 2010, 2011, 12, something like that. They came out with the Wii game and everything, and that was really cool. I remember purchasing that. I feel like a lot of people that are my age probably had that game or probably played that game at some point. And then it just seemed like things kind of went downhill from there. And obviously, if you guys, um, were paying attention to the news in 2019, there was this whole thing about, I don't want to go too much into that, but about his personal life and calling him something that I don't believe that he was. And it really, overshadowed everything about like his music, his artistry and everything. So it seems like they're kind of getting back into the groove of things. So now with this documentary coming out possibly next year, and then them having the MJ, um, musical Broadway show in New York going on. I've heard that's really good. I've heard rave reviews about that. I think tickets have like sold out and everything. I actually have a friend that went to go see it who said that he really, really loved it as well. And I think this plans to take it on the road. So they'll probably be traveling to different cities. And of course, I would love to see it if it ever comes here. So yeah, it seems like, maybe some pretty good things are going to be coming out, to have some stuff to look forward to for the 40th anniversary of Thriller. So I felt like that news aligned really, really well. The fact that I saw that today and I already had plans to talk about Thriller, I thought that was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, let's do a deep dive into Thriller. It's like, where do I start? Because there's so much stuff, and I feel like, honestly, again, if you know me, I could talk about this stuff all day, and you would be so sick of me. But it's just like I said, it's all really fascinating to me. So the album, let's start with the album. The album was released in 1982. It had about seven. Okay. Let me just preface this. Some of the stuff that I'm saying, I'm trying to make sure that it's accurate, and I've even written down some notes. There might be some things that I say that people might listen to and be like, "Wait, that's not right." It's fine. You could correct me. I won't get mad if leave a comment and say like, "Well, hey, it was actually this date," or "No, you got this mixed up." Please tell me, because although I am a big fan of his, I'm not like 100% an expert. I don't know like if everything that I'm saying is accurate. I tried to make sure that I wrote down some good notes for this episode. And also too, I feel like, especially with his whole career, there's so much that gets mixed up. And you have people that come out and say, well, actually it's this. And then there's people that come out and say something completely opposite. And it's hard now because he's not here. So it's not like we could ask him for confirmation, but things get mixed up a lot. So I'm sorry if there's some information that I put out there that's not 100% correct, but just please let me know if it's not right. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So the album was released in 1982, and I believe that there was about seven singles from that album that became radio hits. Obviously, we know Thriller, Billie Jean, Beat It. I feel like those are kind of the main ones. And I think PYT was a single as well. And so obviously when the album came out, it was a hit. People were definitely going to buy the album and they were listening to it and all this good stuff. But what really skyrocketed the album was the Thriller music video, or should I say short film, because it's way more than a music video. Like it's definitely a film. So the short film was released the following year, I think it was a little more than a year later, in 1983. And so when that came out, like, you thought Thriller was doing well when it first came out. When the video came out, I mean, that changed everything. It changed history. It changed music. It changed MTV. It changed the way that we saw music videos and just all of what we could do. And it inspired so many different artists in the industry, not just singers, but dancers and I think everybody in the industry. I mean, you talk to celebrities nowadays and they'll say like Michael is their inspiration, or like that video inspired them. And I mean, you see all kinds of inspiration even today. And I feel like that will continue on probably forever, just because it was so huge. So huge to the point where people were literally sitting in front of their TVs waiting for the premiere of the video. And I know that to be true because my parents actually told me that that was real. Now, I know I wasn't born, so some people might be like, well, how do you know? You weren't even there. I know because my parents told me, and I've heard other people say that too. But yeah, it was a huge thing. And we really don't, sadly, we don't really see anything like that. I know that there's a lot of artists nowadays who have video premieres, and they'll have it like on YouTube. They'll have like a whole countdown thing and then make it fun so people can comment and kind of live stream with each other, which is fun. That's cool. But it's just really, it's really just not the same. And I don't think we'll ever see what Michael did again. I really don't think we'll ever see that. That was like a once in a lifetime thing, to be honest. So yeah, it was crazy because it's like who sits around in front of the TV waiting for a music video to premiere? Maybe an actual movie or something, but a music video, that was definitely unconventional. And I feel like that word describes Michael's career perfectly. Everything that he did was unconventional, but it worked a lot of the time. And not just with his hardcore fans. I feel like specifically with this album and this whole era, it clearly reached the general public to the point where his stardom became so high up, and it was like nobody could reach him, nobody could touch him. And honestly, I really like, as much as I'm happy that he found fame and all that kind of stuff and that he was successful, I really don't think that like any human in this world was intended for that much fame, because that's a lot. Like, I don't even think we realize how much, like, how famous he really was. I don't even know if he realized how famous he really was and how much impact that he had outside of Thriller, just in general. And it's just crazy. Sometimes it's really hard to wrap my brain around. So I can only imagine how he felt during that time. I'm sure it was a whirlwind for him, and even looking back on it, it's just like crazy that that actually happened and that it happened at that time specifically. And so, like I was saying, it changed MTV. It's definitely been credited as breaking racial barriers. Now, again, that could be argued. Some people will say, well, no, Prince was on MTV and there was a few other black artists that they were playing. But honestly, at the time, MTV was really not catering to a black audience. It was a lot of white music videos, white artists, that was their main target. So when Thriller came out and they bought the rights to it, and they saw how well it was doing, and that people were watching it over and over, and they were able to play it like every hour of the day, and people were tuning in. I think they realized that they tapped into something, and that from then on, they were playing like all his videos, and then it kind of opened up for other artists. So that was a really, really important thing he did. And again, I don't think it was necessarily something he set out to do. I could be wrong, but I don't necessarily think that when he was making the video, he was going like, oh yeah, this is gonna break racial barriers. You know what I mean? Like, I think it just happened. It was just like everything was a ripple effect when the video came out. So really important note to make, that did a lot for other artists. And the video quality as well, just really crazy for that time, 1983. And again, it still holds up to today. Now, obviously, like I said, you watch it now and as an adult, it's probably not as scary, especially if you've seen it a million times like me. But I think I still just watch it and I go like, whoa, I can't believe this was made so long ago. And not just the cinematography, not just the directing, but the makeup as well. That's a real big one, I think, is what really made the video what it was, and the way that we're able to watch it now and still enjoy it. It just, like I said, everybody that was a part of this project, really, they just did what they had to do. Like, I don't even know if they knew that they were really like making history at the time, but it's just everybody that played a part in it really brought their A game, and it paid off. Like, clearly it paid off. So before I continue my discussion about the impact of Thriller, I did want to remind you guys that my podcast is sponsored by Streann Media. So thank you to Streann Media for sponsoring my podcast. If you guys don't know, the way I'm able to go live every week is because I use the Streann Studio software. Now, the Streann Studio is pretty much my whole setup of when I'm filming my podcast. And the Streann Studio is obviously provided by Streann Media. So they have all these features set up for you in advance. And this is for anybody to use. You don't have to do a podcast. You can kind of do whatever type of video you really want to. It's just that they specialize in live streaming. So if that's something you're looking to do, I highly recommend checking out Streann Media, and specifically the Streann Studio software. And like I said, they have all these available features for you. It's really easy and simple to use. I'm not a techie person, but I've been able to navigate it pretty well. And as you can see, I try to kind of incorporate those features in my podcast episodes every day. If you actually watch my videos, and you'll see I try to change the background a little bit. I tried to change the colors of my name. I even have the Streann Media logo in the corner and all that kind of stuff. And then other things that you guys don't see when I'm filming is that when I go live, it lets me know in the corner that I am live, and it actually counts the minutes for me. So I can look up and see how long I've been talking or how long the show has been running. And that's how I'm able to kind of see, if the show is running a little long, or if I'm ready to kind of cut it off, or, things like that. So it's really cool. They make it really convenient, as well as they save the recorded broadcast. So once I'm done going live, I click leave and it ends the live, and then I'm able to go and download the file. And then, of course, I upload it to other platforms like YouTube and Spotify and things like that. And you could upload it to pretty much any social media page, Instagram, TikTok, things like that. So yeah, it's really cool features. They kind of make it easy for you so that you don't have to do all this extra stuff outside of filming. But again, if you are looking to get into content creation, or just making videos for fun, it doesn't have to be anything serious, or live streaming, gaming, things like that, highly recommend checking out Streann Studio software. And then if you use it, you could tag Streann Media, because they are on social media as well. You could tag them on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, just to let them know that you're enjoying their software and that you like it and that you heard it from me. Let them know. Okay. Anyway, back into Thriller. So, the video was released in 1983. And again, here we go with mixed information. So I've read that the video was made for $1 million, that was the budget. Then I've heard on the flip side that the budget was $500,000. So I don't know which one is actually true. If you guys know, let me know in the comments. But the purpose of that is that it was a lot for a music video, especially at that time. And we've seen that with other Michael videos as well. Like Scream was a ton of money for the time, but I think this was even more revolutionary because, again, this was like early 80s. So it was like, who was using that much money to make a music video? Only Michael would do something like that. And the music video was directed by John Landis, who is known to be more of a film director. So that was kind of, again, unconventional. I'll be using that word a lot when I'm talking about Michael. It was really unconventional because he did films. And from what I've heard, the story goes that Michael personally reached out to John Landis and talked to him on the phone and told him that he wanted him to direct the video. And clearly in the video, the whole werewolf aspect of it is definitely heavily inspired by John Landis's film An American Werewolf in London. I have not seen that film, but I know that that's sort of, I think, considered a classic now. So maybe it's something that I'll have to check out. And then it's probably inspired by some other old werewolf films as well, but especially that one. I know Michael said that he had seen that. And that was part of the reason why he wanted John Landis to direct the video. And obviously John Landis said yes, and they got to work on it. So along with the video too, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before, but I used to watch this all the time. They actually came out with an hour-long documentary of a behind-the-scenes look into the making of Thriller. You might be able to find that on YouTube. I'm not too sure. Sometimes the S-State is a little strict about like copyright stuff and things they put out. But I mean, that came out, I'm pretty sure they put that out the same year that Thriller came out. I definitely remember watching it on VHS tape, so it's been out for a really, really long time. You should be able to find it somewhere, but that's really good footage as well because, again, you're kind of seeing what really went into making the video. You're seeing Michael getting his makeup done and all this cool stuff. You see the rehearsals of like when he's dancing with his co-star, and it's just really something to see, and it's really cute to watch him because he's so young back then. So that's really good footage to check out if you've never seen it before. And then in the video, his co-star is Ola Ray, so she plays his love interest. And then another honorable mention is I guess you can call it the rap or the speech or whatever in the song is by Vincent Price. And so they use that in the video as well, which worked perfectly. And then the video runs for about almost 14 minutes. So it's definitely a short film. And again, for that time period, that was really unheard of. Nobody was making like 10-minute, 13, 14, 15-minute videos. It's much more prevalent now because of the technology that we have, and obviously because Michael set the tone and kind of gave that blueprint. I think other artists were like, okay, we can make music videos like this. Like we can make them into films. It doesn't just have to be one set, one outfit. We can do multiple changes. We can have different sets. We can have a whole storyline arc to it. And I feel like, again, that's what makes Thriller so fun to watch, because you're watching this whole story and then it comes to like a full circle at the end. And that's, for me anyway, that's what makes it still fun to go back and rewatch. Um, Definitely wanted to put a highlight on Rick Baker, who was a head of the makeup department during the filming of Thriller, and he definitely did the werewolf makeup for Michael. Now, I'm not sure if he did the zombie makeup as well. He probably did, but I heard that there was about 40 makeup artists on set, which again, well, that's a lot for a music video. I think, especially back then. So it was definitely putting in work, and clearly it was a lot, because it was like prosthetics was used. Not only was he turning into a werewolf, but then he turned into a zombie. And it wasn't just him, it was like a ton of other dancers that needed all that zombie makeup on, and they really had to get the look right. So kudos to everybody that was a part of that did the makeup. Incredible work. Like, it needs to be studied. If it's not studied already, it needs to be studied. Like, if you're in cosmetology school and you're learning about makeup, or if you're somebody that specifically wants to get into prosthetics and you want to kind of learn about how to make like movie creatures and monsters and that kind of thing, like, you got to study the work that he did, especially for Thriller, because it's insane what they were able to do. And then, of course, a big part of that as well is the cinematography and the editing into the video, because um, if you just really pay attention to specifically when he's changing into a werewolf, like, it's really detailed, like really detailed. And I think that's what makes it so disturbing. Um, Funny enough, they came out with a Thriller 3D back in 2018, I think, and I went to go see it in theaters. Really great experience. I wish they would have kept it going and just brought it back to the theater every year for Halloween. I feel like that would have been a really good, like, marketing tool, but they didn't do that. I'm not sure why. But they had it playing before this kids movie. And we had the 3D glasses and everything. And seeing it in 3D, you guys, was insane. Like, it really felt like I was in the video. And I know that's obviously the whole purpose of 3D, is for it to be immersive. But I was just like, whoa, like, this is like kind of scary. Like, it kind of made the video scary for me again, because it really felt like he was coming out at you. And then, like I said, it's really like imprinted in my head, that scene of him changing into a wolf and seeing that in 3D. Like, literally seeing the nails protruding out of his fingers and seeing the whiskers come out, the teeth, and like seeing that in 3D was crazy. And I'm like, y'all need to bring that back to the theaters, because that would be so much fun to go and see for Halloween. Now, I know it's only like a little under 14 minutes, but it would be worth it to me. Like, I would pay a ticket to go and see. I don't care. Um so yeah, that was insane. Let me know if you guys saw Thriller 3D in theaters, because I know a lot of people didn't even know about it, and I wish they would have promoted it a little bit better so more people could have went to go see it. But let me know if you were one of the few people that got to see it. I got to see it, luckily, and I think it came out in September, so it was like the month of my birthday. So I was like super hype. I was like, this came out right in time. Um, so yeah, the effects and the cinematography and the editing that went into it, I think, really just like mastered the horror element of it, and just how disturbing it was to see him transform like that. And then um, I would say the zombie makeup was creepy as well, of course, but I think the werewolf one took the cake. Like, just seeing it happen in real time was just like, okay, this is really scary. Like, why are you guys showing this? And now like why, if you didn't understand before, why kids in particular were so afraid of that. Because that it's just really detailed. It's like really disturbing even now to me. It's cool. Like, I admire it, and I think it was fantastic work. But it's also like, ugh. Like, when you really think about it, if you were Ola Ray, think about it. If you were standing there in front of him, or anybody for that matter, and they start transforming into a werewolf, and you see all that stuff coming out of him, like, no, that's not what we're doing here. And I would have been gone. By the way, I think she took way too long. Listen, that's a whole rant right there. She took way too long to run. Now, I know white girls do that in horror movies, but like, come on, girl. Come on, girl. You gonna sit there and watch him transform after he told you to run and you're sitting there screaming? To this day, that part irritates me so bad because I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Now, I understand when some people are really frightened, they freeze up. Um, so I'm assuming it was supposed to be that. And obviously the purpose was to make it to where, like when he chased her, he would catch up to her and everything. But and I guess that's kind of like what they did in horror movies back then. It's like the girl would sit there and go, ah, and scream and everything. But like to this day, I just can't. I'm like, girl, just run. Get out of there. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I just really wanted to like shout out a lot of the people that were a part of it. Another important person that was a part of the project was John Landis's wife, Deborah. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It's spelled Nadoolman. I don't want to butcher it, but she was actually the one that designed Michael's costume. So the iconic red jacket with the red pants, she did that. And I think the idea behind that was because, obviously with them filming and it's like nighttime and it's really dark, she wanted to add like a pop of color to the screen. And so to make sure that he was standing out, because obviously he's the main person in the video, to make sure that he was standing out against all that darkness and stuff. And then I think she said she was going for like a cool and casual and like a hip look. So whatever was trendy at that time, that's kind of what she was going for. But I think anything that Michael wore, it just looked way cooler on him. Like everybody's trying to replicate that, that outfit. You see people wearing it for Halloween and it just does not look the same as it does on him. Like he just made it look so cool. And it's just so effortless, the things that he would wear. And it seemed so simple, but when it was on him, I think just that star power just really came through. So yeah, iconic red jacket there. I mean, he has a lot of iconic looks, but that's one that I think most people remember and most people really like. And then the setting. So I believe most of the video was shot in around the Los Angeles area. I know it was also filmed at the Palace Theater in downtown Los Angeles. So the whole movie scene, that's where that's at. If you want to, you could still go and take pictures of the like the haunted thriller house. It's still standing. People go there to take pictures all the time. I don't know if you're allowed in there. I think you could kind of just stand outside and take pictures. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that yet, but I was kind of close to it one time. So that's kind of cool to think about. But yeah, I believe the filming was all kind of done in or around Los Angeles. And so I'm sure there's plenty of other places where they were filming that you could probably go and take pictures of, or just to stand in the spot and be like, oh my God, this is where they filmed Thriller. I'm one of those people that would do that. Like, I'm that nerd that would go somewhere and be like, like Michael's standing here. Oh my God. I would do that. I'm sorry, but I would. So I definitely have to do that one day. But yeah, just so you guys know, if anybody was wondering about the set and if some of the stuff was still standing, or if you can go and see it, you definitely can. So it's still there. And yeah, let me take another break real quick just to remind you guys that my podcast is sponsored by Streann Media. The way I'm able to go live on Facebook every Tuesday. Let me get it right. Every Tuesday at 1 p.m. I go live on Facebook for my podcast because I use the Streann Studio software. So if you would like to check it out yourself, go to studio.streann.com, and Streann is spelled with 2 N's. So Streann, and you can check it out for yourself. And they also have social media as well that you can look up if you want to tag them, or if you want to see a little bit more about their media company and what they have to offer. They definitely specialize in live streaming. So if that's your thing, if you're looking to get into that, highly recommend checking them out. And yeah, I'll try to put what I maybe could try to start doing is linking them maybe in the comments, because what I typically will do at the once I finish filming is I'll go back to the Facebook video particularly, and I'll put in the comments my social media channel, so that way if you want to follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, or anywhere else or anything, you have it there. And then maybe I can even put the Streann Facebook page on there if you guys want to follow them, if you want to check them out. Just let me know if you guys want me to do that. Maybe I'll start doing that, and I'll put it in the comments for you guys to see. But anyway, let's get back to Thriller. So I don't even know what else to go into because it's just so much. Like I wrote down kind of a lot, a little bit more than probably what I needed to. Um, so a little bit about going back to the album and the song itself before the video was out. So as you guys know, just to give a little bit of context, I think I mentioned this earlier that Thriller was the second studio album by Michael as a solo artist under Epic Records. Because I know when I say that, that can be a little confusing because you're going, well, wait, like, how is that his second album? I'll explain it. So, as we all know, he started out in the group Jackson 5 with his brothers, and they were under Motown for a while. Once they transitioned out of Motown, they went over to Epic Records and they became the Jacksons because they couldn't keep the Jackson 5 name that belonged to Motown. And everybody had went over to Epic Records besides Jermaine Jackson, by the way. That's a fun fact for you. He stayed behind at Motown at the time. So they were making albums. They came out with Destiny, Triumph, Victory, things like that. And they were older at this time too. And so I think at this point, Michael was having a little bit more creative control, and I'm pretty sure that's what he was really wanting at the time. And then 1979 hit, and Off the Wall came out, which was his first solo adult project. So he had solo projects as a kid, but this was his first time as a grown man coming out with his own album that was produced by Quincy Jones as well. And then so for Thriller, that was his second adult solo studio album under Epic Records, and again produced by Quincy Jones. So hopefully that makes sense when I say second studio album. I know people are like, well, wait a minute, he had like a ton of albums before that. Yeah, he did, but it was under like a different record label in the beginning, and then before that it was all with his brothers. So at this point he was, like, funny enough, he was still early on in his solo adult career, and so for him to have, I mean, he just didn't miss. Like, let's be honest. Like, for him to have so many hits like that, and I know he already had an established audience with being a part of, Jackson 5 and everything, but there was no guarantee that fame from when he was a child was going to transfer over into an adult. Like, it could have went a whole other way. He could have ended up being I don't want to say a one-hit wonder, but he could have ended up just being like somebody that faded off into the background, and he didn't. Like, he went full force, and it started with Off the Wall. And I always tell people, I honestly think Thriller would not have been Thriller. It wouldn't have been the album that it was had he not made Off the Wall first. And the reason why I say that is because Off the Wall laid the foundation for Thriller. That's just my opinion. And again, because he was working with Quincy Jones, he already had that relationship with him. And then they, went ahead and did Thriller together. And that was magic. And they even went on to do Bad in 1987. So I just feel like him doing Off the Wall was like, it was like gearing us up for, even though we didn't know what was coming, it was like gearing us up for him to just like blow everybody out the water and for him to just blow everybody's mind. So I am definitely grateful for Off the Wall for that, because like I said, I really feel like him doing that album was necessary, and I think it was needed, just for him as an artist and for his whole entire discography, I guess you can say. And then another fun fact, the song Thriller was not originally called Thriller, it was called Starlight. What? I know you're like, Starlight, what? Now, some of you guys obviously might know that if you're, hardcore Michael fan, if you're a part of the MJ fam, that you already know that, but it was originally called Starlight. Imagine what that would have been like. Honestly, I don't know if it would have been as big as it was if it was called Starlight. And it wasn't just the title, like the song itself was, very different. The lyrics were different. And I believe there's a demo floating around out there. You could probably find it on YouTube, like you can find anything else. If you put in Thriller demo or Starlight demo or something, you'll hear him singing the words, and it's completely different than the studio version or the album version that we got, and it was not called Thriller. I don't remember the exact story of how it went from Starlight to Thriller, but again, I'm sure that's something you could look up if you kind of wanted to know a little bit more details about it. But yeah, imagine singing that Starlight, Starlight. Like, that's hilarious to me. I don't know like where they were going with that. But thank God they changed it and that we ended up getting Thriller instead. And so the song itself actually wasn't written by Michael. It was written by Rod Temperton, who's written a ton of songs, and I believe he wrote a bunch of other songs for Michael as well around that time. But obviously that was the killer. That hit for sure. And the short film, I just learned this today when I was looking up stuff. It's actually, I believe it's the first or maybe one of the only videos to be inducted into the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress. What? I did not know that. Now, see, that's what I'm saying. There's so much info around even just the video itself, but around the song, around the album, and everything that was going on at that time. So, a lot of really cool information. This is why I really feel like a documentary is needed, because I feel like, even as somebody like me who's been a fan of him for so long, I feel like there's a lot that I could still learn. So, that's pretty cool. I mean, if that's not iconic, I don't know what is. um, and so, yeah, I mean, back in 1984, he won 8 Grammys for the album. I mean, let me get it right. So the album sold over 100 million copies. I believe to this day, it's still considered the biggest selling album of all time. Now, there was reports a while back that another album, some rock band, I think, surpassed it. They were trying to say they surpassed it. I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. Now, maybe I'm just in denial because I don't want that to be surpassed. I want that to be Michael's stamp right there. But yeah, they were trying to say, I forgot what band that was. I should have looked it up, but they said a band or a group surpassed it in America. I think he still holds the record for biggest selling album of all time as far as like worldwide. But I guess apparently some other artists surpassed that in America, but I don't believe that. Whatever. We're still going to give him the title anyway. And yeah, so if you guys remember going back to when I said he won those 8 Grammys, so I think he was nominated for about 12 or 13 and he won 8 of them. That was a big deal, especially back then. That was, if you guys remember, that's the picture of him in that. It's like a blue and gold glittery military jacket, and he has like the white glove on and the glasses. That's a pretty iconic outfit of his as well. I've seen people dress up as that for Halloween. I think even most recently, Offset from the Migos dressed up in that costume for Beyonce's Halloween. I think, was it Beyonce's Halloween? Or no, it was Beyonce's birthday, I think. I think he was the one that did that. So I see people dress up in that outfit as well. So that was that night. If you know what I'm talking about, try to visualize it. And if not, you can look it up yourself. But yeah, iconic. And this was 1984. Keep in mind the album came out in 1982. The video came out the following year, 1983. And then 1984, he just cleaned up and swept all them Grammys up. Well, not all of them technically, but the fact that the longevity of it too, I think is what was really cool to see. The fact that he came out with that album 2 years prior, and then even then he was still getting all these accolades and praise for it, and it was still playing. It was still a hit. People were still listening to it. And again, I don't think you see that as much with artists today, and that's no shade to anybody. Like, that's no shade to, like, I'm not singling out any one artist. I think Bruno Mars does a really good job of that. I mean, he will release an album and like ride the wave for like 3 or 4 years until he comes out with another one. And as a fan, it's kind of annoying because you're like, oh, we want new music, and I think we're so used to just the way, like, in this climate of getting things super fast, we want things like right away, because artists now will release a song like, some artists will release a song like every month, some artists will release a new album every year, and then the way, especially with independent artists, they're able to kind of put their music out there whenever they want to. And so I think we're just used to everything moving so fast paced. So the fact that an artist can release an album and it could still just be enjoyed for the next few years until they come out with something else is, I think, really nice. And it's kind of a lost art, to be honest. So kudos to Bruno for being able to do that. And there's probably some other artists that do that too, but I just know that he does that really well. As far as him being a mainstream artist, I don't really see a lot of people do that. So yeah, so Michael did that really, really well. And then let's see. I'm trying to see what other I'm getting to that point where I'm like, okay, I think I've been talking for too long. It's going to be an hour pretty soon. I knew this was going to go by really fastly, and I'm trying to get out all this information as much as I can now, because next week we're going to be moving into a completely different topic. But yeah, it's iconic. Like, what else can I say? It was iconic. It is iconic, and it will remain iconic. It will remain one of, if not the best music videos to ever be made. And just again, it changed everything. And I feel like MTV and stuff, like, they may not acknowledge that as much now, but back then it's like you can't deny it. Like, if you just look at the numbers, and if you were to look at the data and to see how many people were watching MTV, how much more people were watching MTV now that they were catering to a different demographic. Now it wasn't just white people; it was like like all races were tuning in to see him, and so they saw that that was where the money was at, and they, like I said, they took it and they ran with it, which was really smart on their end. So it sucks that MTV kind of like has folded now, and they don't really, they're not really a music television network anymore. They really just play TV shows. Um, but I think if they were to ever like kind of transition back into a music network and they kind of went back to playing music videos, I think it would be really cool to like have a whole thing where they just play like old videos or something, and they play like some of Michael's videos and everything. I just think that would be really cool. I hope they do that. Anybody MTV listening to this, please go back to playing music. That's what we love. That's what we need. Um, but yeah, I think I'm going to be kind of wrapping up the discussion of Thriller. You guys can let me know if you like these kinds of episodes, me doing deep dives into certain things, and I'll kind of do more of that, um, for the rest of October. But if you want me to kind of continue that once Halloween ends, just let me know. Um, and of course, I want to hear your guys' opinions on Thriller, the music video, the album, whatever it is. Were you scared of it as a child? Are you still scared of it now? If you go back and watch it, what do you think? Do you think it still holds up? Or do you think it looks really outdated? Do you feel like, just tell me your opinions. Do you feel like, is there any other music video do you feel like that tops Thriller? Because to me, I'm like, I don't know. And again, I'm biased because I'm a huge fan of his, but I really am just like, when you think about context, like the time that it came out and all of the, like I said, the cinematography, the directing, the makeup, the costume design, all of that. When you think about all of that, the choreography, oh my God, did I talk about the choreography? I didn't talk about that. Hold on. Before we even wrap it up, I got to talk about that. Choreography was by Michael Peters and Michael Jackson. So Michael Peters also did Beat It. He was also in Beat It. If you go back to the Beat It music video, so obviously the whole premise of Beat It is like the two gangs going up against each other, and then there's like one lead for each gang. And so the guy that's in like the all white jumpsuit, that's Michael Peters. Now, sadly, he passed away back in the 90s, I believe. But yeah, him and Michael together, like one hell of a duo, because I know that coming up with that dance and everything was not easy. I know it's on record that Michael was saying when they were coming up with the choreography, they really wanted to make sure that it wasn't comical. So they didn't want it to be something that people were sitting there watching and laughing at, because, the idea of it, zombies dancing, sounds pretty silly. It sounds pretty absurd. But I think he wanted people to kind of take it seriously. I think he wanted it to be fun, but it wasn't meant to be like, ha, that's funny. It was like, oh, like what? And they delivered. They did it. They did what they set out to do. So yeah, the choreography, iconic. Like, people will forever be doing that dance, learning that dance. I know there's actual dance classes that teach the Thriller dance, and I know because I've seen it, and I even thought about signing up for one time. I didn't really do it. But yeah, like, all this stuff should be studied in school because it's just historical. It's iconic. You cannot tell me that it's not iconic. Like, every little thing about Thriller, the video and the album too, but the video specifically is just, it needs to be studied. I'm telling you guys, it needs to be studied. And then the last note or fun fact that I wanted to make was, in the beginning of the video, if you go back and watch the video, there's a disclaimer. And let's see, do I have it? I don't know if I wrote it down, but there is a disclaimer where it says something along the lines of, due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this film in no way endorses a belief in the occult. So I've seen people that, specifically on YouTube, like, they'll react to Thriller or whatever, they'll go back and watch the video, and I've seen people be kind of confused about that, and they're kind of just like, well, why didn't Michael put that? Like, what was the point? So just to kind of clear that up, Michael was a Jehovah's Witness for, I think most of his life, or at least half of his life. He definitely was one at the time, and that was a big part of his upbringing. So he put that in there because there was some controversy with, other Jehovah Witnesses in that community, about him putting out a music video like that. So to them, that was like him promoting, like demonic stuff and evil and everything. And he just wanted to, make a music video for his song. And he was just like, this is supposed to be fun. And this is supposed to be entertainment, and it's just film. It's not to like, it's not anything like that. And he had to make that clear because he was kind of getting some heat from that. So if you didn't know, now you know that he grew up as a Jehovah Witness. And so, people in that community weren't really feeling that. It was probably like, Michael, what are you doing? Like, this is not holy of you. What is this? So yeah, he felt the need to do that. And yeah, that's why he put that disclaimer there. So if you didn't know, you could kind of look it up and see a little bit more backstory about that. I don't know if there's really any interviews, like video wise, of him talking about that, but I know it's been in some written articles where he said, like, that was why I put that there. So just having to appease everybody to be like, okay, please don't get upset, like, this is not what you think it is. It's not evil, it's not demonic, it's just for fun. It's just like celebrating Halloween. Now I know everybody doesn't celebrate Halloween, that's fine. People have their own reasons, whether it be religious or not. But I think just coming from Michael's POV, he was kind of like, no, this is not meant to promote anything. This is just like me and my song and my video, and just wanting people to enjoy it. So I thought that was kind of funny looking back on that now, because I know, nowadays it's like, why would you put a disclaimer? Because we see so much crazier stuff now, and so to us it's like whatever. But back then it was like, ooh, no, we gotta shut that rumor down real quick. So there's that. But yeah, like I said, I think I'm gonna wrap up the discussion about Thriller. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. If you like these types of episodes, please let me know in the comments so I know to do more of those. I had so much fun talking about this. It went by really quickly. Like, I knew it would. I knew as soon as I started talking about it, I was like, this is gonna fly by so fast. And I feel like I've been talking really fast too, because I'm trying to input as much information as I can in an hour. So hopefully I'm not talking too fast. Hopefully you caught everything that I was saying. And again, let me know like what you think about Thriller. What do you remember the first time you watched it? Were you scared of it as a child? What's your favorite part? Did you see Thriller 3D? Are you looking forward to seeing the Thriller documentary coming out? Again, I don't know if that's been confirmed, but I'm hoping that that's real, and that we'll see something, or we'll get a little bit more information maybe like going into next year. I'm thinking probably. And yeah, next week we are continuing the Halloween horror theme, spooky season, whatever you want to call it, discussions. And y'all, don't ask me why I'm so excited. I'm weird. I'm really excited because next week we are getting into the story of It by Stephen King. And I know you're probably like, why is that exciting? Like, I thought you were a scary person. I am, but that has become my favorite horror movie, the new version of it. And so, again, there's a lot to that because it comes from a novel. And then there was a mini series, and then there was movies and everything. So the whole story is just really wacky and crazy. And I really just want to do a whole deep dive into the story of It, and then the history behind Derry, Maine, and the differences between the novel, the miniseries, and the movies. So I'm excited about that too. If you're looking forward to that, if you're a fan of It, like, tune into next week. I'm going to go live on Facebook on Tuesday at 1 p.m. as usual. And then, of course, if you're not able to catch my lives, that's totally fine. I always try to upload same day. So you can go to my YouTube channel. You can look it up on Spotify. You should be able to just look up Tiffany's TVscape podcast, and it should come up. I don't think there's any other podcast with that name. And you can listen back to my episodes. And of course, it's all on my Facebook. If you just scroll, you'll go back and see. You can go back to the very first episode that I did. It's all on there. And what I've been kind of thinking of doing is maybe transferring all of my podcast contests and making a separate Facebook page, and maybe even a separate Instagram and Twitter for it. If you guys would like me to do that, or if you think that's a good idea, just let me know. just so things aren't like too mushed up together, because I have personal things on my Facebook as well. And so I feel like maybe making a separate channel would be better. So that way, you know, that going on to that Facebook page, it would just be all podcast content, any type of updates or anything like that. And then I'll just have like my own socials for that. So I think I might do that, but it might take me some time to do that. But yeah, just let me know if you guys want to see me do that, and if you're willing to follow the pages as well, because I want to make sure that people don't get confused if I do that. um, but yeah, like I said, we're going to be continuing this horror themed conversations for the rest of October. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm trying to plan the content ahead of time, just so I can kind of let you guys know what's coming up next. And then you guys can let me know if you have any questions beforehand, or if you're looking to be a guest on the podcast, let me know. Like, I will have any guest as long as you can talk about whatever topic that we're discussing. And I can have more than one person on, you guys. So it doesn't just have to be one person. I can have more than one person. We can make it a group thing if you want to do that. Just hit me up. Hit me up on social media, or text me or email me. I can put all my information down below if you guys want to reach out to me. And yeah, I will see you next week. I hope I didn't miss out on any really important information, because I'm going to look back at this and I'm going to be really upset with myself. But I tried to give you as much information as I can. Hopefully you learned something new today. Hopefully this was a fun discussion for you. If you knew all of this and you're just like, girl, like, we've been knew this, whatever. Okay, you don't have to brag. But I'm gonna go. I will see you guys next week, and I hope you guys tune in to my discussion about it. Bye bye.